So, I wanted to talk about the foundation of the spiritual life. What is it really all about at the core of it? I've talked about great teachers over the course of all of history in all places and times and cultures. And basically, the essence of their message has been the same. And the essence of their message is this: that here in this world, we're experiencing life. We come here in order to learn, and that learning has to take the form not only of taking in knowledge, it has to take the form of applying that knowledge so that we change who we are. We transform ourselves. And the nature of that transformation can be summed up by the idea or by the understanding that we all have basically two different aspects of ourselves. We have a lower self and we have a higher self. Now, the lower self, which we all have, is based in a certain kind of fear based thought process and values and actions. And when we're in the lower self, or what is also called the ego, we are pursuing things outside ourselves in an effort to try and find some kind of satisfaction and fill some kind of emptiness. We are full of judgments based on ego and emotions that are fear based, and we are living a life that is full of suffering. Now, when we're in our higher self, it's completely different. And we all have this higher self within us, but some people have not awakened to it very much. So, what happens when we do awaken to it? Well, the great teachers tell us about what happens and what we need to do in order to awaken to it. When the Buddha says we have to practice right thought and right speech and right action, he's talking about the type of thought and speech and action that is identified with the higher self. When Jesus talks about the need to love God with our whole heart and our neighbor as ourselves, and that's what it's really all about, that's a thought process and a set of values that's identified with the higher self. And these great teachers, they not only understand what the thought process is, they also are evidence of it. They carry themselves and they act in the world in such a way as to be a higher self, to be dominated by a higher self, and the ego in them is almost completely erased. And when they do that, it is a transformation. It is a change. It is something that we can all do. It's a different form of consciousness, but it has to begin at the level of thinking. And let me point out that some of this is identified. Some of this is part of ordinary mainstream religion. But ordinarily mainstream religion is also a lot of confusion, a lot of rules that don't necessarily have anything to do with this, a bunch of rituals that may or may not have any association with this, some, all sorts of things that I'll talk about in other places. But this thinking here, this set of values, this set of teachings, what I'm talking about, this is what true spirituality and the course of what we're here to do is all about. So if we identify and are directed by our thoughts of love and peace and unity and consideration for all, and we learn how to set aside fear and grasping and a sense of separation, then we do what Jesus does, then we do what the Buddha does, then we do what all these great teachers do, and we follow the teachings that we already know about inside of us, because that's where they are. That's how we know about this higher self. We already understand it. It's already there. We just need to learn how to identify with it more. I'm going to talk about an experience I had, and it is what I would call a mystical experience. And when I was in this experience, when I was having this experience, first of all, I felt myself to be inspired by something greater. It was a direct inspiration. I found myself to be in a divine presence. I found myself to be inspired directly at the level of my thoughts and actions. I knew what to do in any given situation. I had no regrets about the past, anything I'd done in the near past or the far past, and I had no worries about the future. I just felt like I was inspired to do the right thing in the moment, whenever I was doing it, and I always considered everyone else in the whole world and myself in the course of what I was doing. I felt a complete sense of being at peace with what I was doing, and I felt a sense of love and compassion for the people around me and the whole world. And let me say that while I had this experience, it's not a one-time experience necessarily. We all have this part of us that can be this, that is this, that where we are able to do this, and we can all do this at any given time, and we can all become more and more aware of this inspirational part of ourselves that directs us to do this. Amongst the great teachings of the world, there's the teaching of the Tao, and the Tao is recognized to be this inner force by which we can tune in to know what it is that is right for us and just enact it right in the moment, no matter what mistakes we may have made in the past, no matter what's coming in the future, no matter what our limitations are. None of these things matter. At any given point in time, we are able to tune in and recognize and be aware of a divine inspirational presence that is around us and within us that can take away our fear and can help us to know what to do right here in the moment based on what is right for all of us, including ourselves. That's what the great spiritual teachings are basically all about. To do that and do it consistently and do it more and more and have it become our predominant thought process, so it changes our consciousness and basically changes our identity, changes who we are. And that's really what it comes down to at a basic level. And I will say more about that, of course, over the course of time. But everything relates to that. That's the most essential basic teaching. So, if you like the video, then go ahead and subscribe. And if you also like it, you can hit like. But I will be back to elaborate on this theme and talk more about things that are related to all of this. But I wanted to point that out as being actually what is most important and what it all boils down to. So, if you want to go ahead and think on that, go ahead, and I'll be back soon to say more that's related to this. Thank you for watching.